Caribbean Newsline is brought to you by the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc.
Dominica is under hurricane watch. Our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Friday, July 6th from the CMC News Center in Bridgetown. I'm Ricardo Roberts. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The Category 1 Hurricane Beryl is said to be headed straight for Dominica after moving from a disturbance to a hurricane in less than 24 hours. Beryl is the first hurricane to be formed in the Atlantic, and the National Hurricane Center says it is proven to be unpredictable because of its small size. The center says there is greater than usual uncertainty in analyzing its current intensity, and it is also difficult to accurately forecast its path. However, it is expected to remain a hurricane when it moves through the Lesser Antilles over the weekend. At 5 p.m., the center of Hurricane Beryl was located near latitude 10.6 north, longitude 47.8 west. Beryl is moving toward the west near 15 miles per hour, and a faster westward to west-northwestward motion is expected to begin over the weekend and continue through early next week. On the forecast track, the center of Beryl will approach the Lesser Antilles over the weekend and cross the island chain late Sunday or Monday. Maximum sustained winds are near 80 miles per hour with higher gusts. Some strengthening is forecast during the next couple of days, and Beryl could still be a hurricane when it reaches the Lesser Antilles late Sunday or Monday. Weakening is expected once Beryl reaches the Eastern Caribbean Sea on Monday, but the system may not degenerate into an open trough until it reaches the vicinity of Hispaniola and the Central Caribbean Sea. Hurricane force winds extended outward up to 10 miles from the center, and tropical storm force winds extend outward up to 35 miles. A hurricane watch has been issued for Dominica and tropical storm watch for Martinique, Guadeloupe, St. Martin, and St. Barthélemy. And Dominica is bracing for Hurricane Beryl. Now at 5 p.m. on Friday, the island was placed on hurricane watch. If Beryl continues on its projected path, it will be the third consecutive system to affect the island, following on the heels of Tropical Storm Erica in 2016 and the Category 5 Hurricane Maria last year. Well, earlier on Friday, the Deputy Prime Minister, Reginald Austere, had refuted claims that the country was being shut down. That erroneous message was being spread on social media, but Austere immediately responded, saying that the cabinet had not made a decision on such matter, and he called on all Dominicans to adequately prepare for the hurricane and to find safe shelter. Now, well, live on the line with us is Gavin Richards, Acting News Director at DBS Radio. Gavin, what is the mood right now in Dominica? Okay, we will get back to Gavin, who he will get back to us at this time. Well, continue with the news. The Barbados Meteorological Services says it is closely monitoring Hurricane Beryl and has advised that it can issue a hurricane watch or warning at short notice should Beryl make a southward deviation from its current path. Now, in a statement on Friday, the Met Services said heavy rains and occasional gusty winds are forecast for Barbados from Sunday night into Monday, with 1 or 2 inches of rain expected. Now, a high surface advisory and small craft warning will go into effect from Saturday evening into Monday morning. And, of course, the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, CDEMA, has activated its regional coordination plan. Its coordinating unit is undertaking preparatory action and has notified participating states and the Regional Response Mechanism, the RRM partners, of the potential threat of Beryl. The agency has scheduled a briefing for its RRM partners and is participating states for Friday morning at 11 o'clock. The Caribbean Institute of Meteorology and Hydrology will brief partners on the hydrometeorological threat posed by Beryl, and RRM partners will inform of their preparatory action plans. CDEMA is encouraging all to continue to monitor the system. And we join with Garvin, who from DBS Radio, our news editor, the acting news editor at DBS Radio. Good evening, Garvin.
Hi, good evening, Ricardo. Good evening to the viewers of CMC News.
All right. What's the mood in Dominica right now at the moment?
Well, I can tell you that things are very tense. You know, it's less than 10 months since the country went through the devastation caused by Hurricane Maria, and now we're facing yet another hurricane, Hurricane Beryl, which is expected to make landfall sometime Sunday into Monday. So, you know, the people are very tense, you know, very anxious. There are long lines at the supermarkets, long lines at the gas stations. And as a matter of fact, some of the shelves are already started to empty at the various supermarkets across the island. And like I said, long lines of people trying to fill up their gas tanks for their vehicles, and also for extra storage for their generators, something that was in abundance following Hurricane Maria, where a lot of people were able to bring in generators. So Dominicans are basically preparing. I wouldn't want to say that we were caught off guard, but we were preparing for more or less a strong tropical wave or trough system. That was the prediction earlier this week, but things seem to have changed yesterday and today, of course, and now the prediction is for a hurricane or even a strong tropical storm sometime over the course of the weekend.
All right, I understand Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt is out of the island. Is there any sense he will be back home before this hurricane bears down on the island to give some assurances or leadership as the country prepares for this disaster?
Yes, well, the Prime Minister was attending the CARICOM Heads of Government meeting in Jamaica, and the information that we got this afternoon is that he abruptly left the meeting, and he's on his way back home to Dominica. So the Prime Minister is expected back on island either sometime tonight or early tomorrow morning.
Now, we understand that Seabourn Airlines have cancelled flights to the island for Sunday. Are there any other announcements of other other cancellations of flights, basically?
Okay. Well, I haven't gotten any other information yet. Obviously, most likely, Liat will be also probably announcing something by Sunday. But the ferries which operates from Dominica to Martinique, Dominica to St. Lucia, and Dominica to Guadeloupe, they've also announced some cancellations as a result of the storm. I believe St. Lucia to Dominica, the 12:30 trip has been cancelled, and also Dominica to St. Lucia, the 2:45 trip for Sunday. These two trips have been cancelled. So we just have to wait and see what happens.
Okay, we're going to leave it there, Garvin Richards. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right, that was Garvin Richards, acting news editor at DBS Radio, giving us an update on preparations for the Hurricane Beryl that is expected to make landfall in Dominica late Sunday. And moving on, as Caribbean leaders discuss the recommendations outlined in the CARICOM Marijuana Commission report, there are concerns that the region is lagging behind in cashing in on the economic benefits of the cannabis industry. The issue was raised as CARICOM heads met in Jamaica for the 39th annual summit, which ended on Friday. Janella Pursues of TVJ News reports.
Of the 15-member grouping, only 3 CARICOM countries have passed legislation decriminalizing possession and use of small quantities of ganja. They are Jamaica, Belize, and Antigua and Barbuda. 4 years ago, CARICOM established a marijuana commission which was charged with looking into the social, economic, health, and legal issues surrounding ganja use in the Caribbean. This, while developed countries like Canada and several states in the U.S. have developed flourishing ganja industries.
I think, quite frankly, we have been somewhat delinquent in dealing with the opportunities which arise. I think there's been too much bureaucracy in how we have gone about it. And other countries are moving very boldly ahead.
In Trinidad and Tobago, pressure is mounting on the government to decriminalize ganja. In Barbados, the government says it will allow the residents to decide, but there's no indication when the referendum will be held. St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, disclosed that his administration will take 3 bills to Parliament for the decriminalization of ganja on July 26.
One of the things which we are going to do, we have spoken about it in Parliament, we're going to give an amnesty for those who are currently growing marijuana. And we are going to have a traditional cultivator's license in relation to certain standards, but make it very easy for traditional growers to get licenses. Otherwise, you're going to have an industry where the growing is taking place by quote-unquote big people. So you have to find a balance.
Some CARICOM leaders are insisting that the regional body must fix its implementation deficit so that confidence can be restored. Now, as we hear in this report from TVJ's Vashan Brown, Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown says many people still feel CARICOM is a lot of talk but no action.
There has been an implementation deficit, so we need to fill that deficit and to at least get some quick wins so that we can restore confidence. I mean, we're not going to resolve the issues, you know, at any one meeting or within a few months or a few years, but I believe that there are some quick decisions that we can take.
Those decisions, he pointed out, relate to free movement of goods and people across the region. The Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines agrees with concerns that Caribbean leaders have been dragging their feet on certain matters.
In the case of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we allow spouses, as a matter of course, to come and we grant them the work permit very easily, but we'll prefer if we didn't have to deal with work permit for them. And as to the children or the spouse, you could access medical care just like any Vincentian, and you can go to school just like any Vincentian. We have gone ahead in practical terms addressing those, but they shouldn't be on the basis of an administrative permission. It should be juridically grounded, legislated with all of us.
You're watching Caribbean Newsline. Stay with us. You have more news after this. The private sector in Trinidad and Tobago is being called to diversify its offering in order to enhance the economy. The call comes from Trade and Industry Minister Paula Gopi-Schoon. Now, addressing the opening of the 2018 Trade and Investment Convention, Gopi-Schoon said further development must include greater contributions by the private sector.
There is, however, the need for the private sector to evolve if they wish to progress. For far too long, we have given lip service to diversification and resolutely identified the government as being solely responsible for the success of expanding and creating new opportunities in the non-energy sector. And this evening, I wish to change the focus and put the questions to the business stakeholders as we formulate solutions to support further economic diversification.
She encouraged the private sector to further promote efficiency, productivity and innovation within the country.
What is the private sector doing that is bold? How has the private sector been innovative? How have you employed technology? It is that you must take the time to evaluate your own businesses. How have your operations evolved in the last decade? How much have you reinvested in new processes, better products or services, more responsible practices, and more motivated staff?
The government of Guyana has informed more than 2,000 sugar workers who were made redundant when some of the country's sugar estates were closed late last year that they will soon receive the final portion of their outstanding severance pay. Minister of State Joseph Harmon expressed his disgust at the legal maneuvers surrounding the promised payout. We get more in this HGP Nightly News report.
The Sugar Union GAWU has filed an application in the High Court demanding that more than 4,000 of its members be paid their severance. This comes after the government had promised to bankroll the payout, and after the first tranche of that payout has already been paid. On Thursday, Minister of State Joseph Harmon placed on the table the government's position on the matter.
Cabinet discussed payment of the second tranche of severance to sugar workers and iterated its commitment to honoring the agreement to make the remaining severance payment within the time it promised.
The government had made no provision in the 2018 national budget for the payment of sugar workers' severance. Minister Harmon explained the source of funds to execute the payout.
Several ministries were actually asked to do a cutback on their budgetary allocations, and we anticipated that all of the money will come from that process. Half of it has already been paid, and the second tranche will take place. It will come directly from government sources that will be paid in the second half of the year.
Minister Harmon also expressed disgust at the manner in which the Sugar Union GAWU is approaching the matter of the second tranche of the payout.
In fact, the government has acknowledged that. So sometimes I really wonder why people are in a sense, abusing the court system by going to get a declaration and saying to the government, asking the court to tell the government that you must pay, when in fact the government has already determined that it will pay and that it will pay the second tranche within the second half of the year. And we've committed ourselves to that.
GAWU's application to the High Court for the immediate payout of sugar workers' severance is to be heard on July 20.
In other news, this Friday, the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is celebrating 42 years since the EC dollar has been pegged to the US dollar at a fixed rate of EC $2.70 to US $1. Governor Timothy Antoine says this is a noteworthy achievement which has allowed the people of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union to enjoy a fixed exchange regime, and he thanked all the players that made the milestone achievable.
And in this volatile world, in this global economy pregnant with risks, that has stood firm and has allowed us to enjoy benefits that we now take for granted. So that, for example, the fact that we have free convertibility between EC and US dollars is not something every country enjoys. the fact that that allows us to have relatively low inflation is not something every country enjoys. The fact that it allows us to attract foreign direct investment because investors know they can repatriate profits without any exchange rate controls, and they have free convertibility. Those things give confidence and have worked for the benefit of the people of our region.
And ahead in Newsline Sport, West Indies crushed Bangladesh to win the first test inside 3 days. Now we'll have the details of the Caribbean side's victory after the break.
This hurricane tip comes to you compliments the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and the Caribbean Media Corporation. Be prepared. If you use an electric stove, keep a portable LPG or oil-fired stove if possible.
Renowned for its pristine beachfront and fantastic weather, continues to leave quite an impression on newcomers to the island and returning visitors. The Caribbean island, quite popular as a vacation hotspot, is not only beautiful due to its natural aesthetics. The island of Barbados continues to grow in popularity because of unique connections developed with our people, our culture. We can't wait to welcome you.
For what she believes is unmatched.
I wanted to get to the point where you can shake me off that perfect piece.
She's a book-off radio host, philanthropist, and motivational speaker.
And I said, I'm going to write you a check for $10,000, which I'm not.
Spirit, soul, and body.
To get some help through the transition.
I'm Karita D, and you're listening to Girlfriend Get a Life.
West Indies crushed Bangladesh by an innings and 219 runs in just 7 sessions to record their 5th largest test victory ever and grab an all-important 1-0 lead in the 2-match series on Friday. The host needed just over 1 3/4 hours on the 3rd day at the Vivian Richards ground to claim the remaining 4 wickets and send Bangladesh tumbling to 144 all out in their 2nd innings. Wicketkeeper Nurul Hassan resisted with a counter-attacking 64, but the writing was always on the wall for the Tigers after they resumed the morning on 62 for 6, still requiring an improbable 301 runs to make the Windies bat again. Shannon Gabriel added another wicket to his tally to finish with 5 for 77, while captain and fellow fast bowler Jason Holder picked up 3 for 30 and Miguel Cummins 2 for 16. Here are the highlights.
A little early. He didn't trouble the scorers in terms of getting any runs today. Gone for 15 as he was overnight. Smart catch. And that's the other pleasing issue, I think, for the Windies. Quite carry. The catching's been good from the men behind the wicket. You just see that on the half volley. The Nurul, he took his opportunity this morning. He really wanted to get stuck in. Edges, as you'd expect, off the quick man. Flashing blade. Pace runs away very quickly, of course. And showed his wares. Ability to play shots all around the clock. A little bit of luck. That would have been a gem of a catch. Wasn't quite to be. He was hunting his 5 He was disappointed, Shannon Gabriel, but this would have been an absolute beauty. They either stick or they don't, and the rebound didn't go straight up. And then Kamrul Islam thought he had smashed this onto the 3rd fairway, but came 2nd.
Yeah, castled after slight resistance. But it was Nurul who really looked good. Took advantage of every opportunity to score. And that was a massive straight 6 of Shannon Gabriel. He improvised when he had to. put up his 50 with that little squirt to leg. It's harsh on Devendra Bishu's first over. Big 6. Took his chances. And finally, his innings came to an end. Trying to pull a delivery from Miguel Cummings. And not long after, that was Rubel's Hussein's wicket. And the West Indies had cleaned up.
And after the match, Captain Jason Holder praised his team for their clinical performance.
Yeah, happy overall with the performance. I felt, we bowled and batted well in this test match. We also supported bowlers in the field. I think it was a clinical performance. Looking ahead to the next test match in Jamaica, I expect the Bangladeshis to come back firing and come at us pretty hard, So it's just a matter of us being consistent and maintaining the pressure that we set on them. The opening burst by Kimar and also Shannon, really set the tone for us. I was able to come in and get a few wickets at the end, and obviously Miguel Cummings got 3 wickets in the first innings as well. So again, it was a clinical performance in the first hour of play, and then obviously we set it up quite nicely with the bat, led by Craig. A wonderful 100. I think his 7th Test match century, and well supported by everybody else who chipped in.
And that's the sports. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
From sunrise, a city filled with an island vibe, music, people, color, friendship, culture, and the warmest of smiles. Come enjoy the unique costumes, pulsating steel pans, exotic culture, exciting fetes, and unforgettable people. Discover Antigua's Carnival, the Caribbean's greatest summer festival, July 27th to August 8th, because the beach really is just the beginning.
And that's Caribbean Newsline. Join us again on Monday for another major newscast. Good evening.